just want to go over my pre-market game plan going into Monday. Beautiful day on the SPY and the Qs. Crazy recovery. Something I've been saying, the trend is your friend, the dip is your friend. This market is still very bullish. Until we break under the 653, we are bullish bias on this name. So one thing I want to say is I love how the market closed on Friday, is because this thing is setting up. This is still our A plus long. We cannot forget that. Remember, we waited forever to get this. We ended up getting it on Wednesday, but we never got the retest because it happened during the pre-market. That was a nice day. But this 673 is the dip buy. This is the dip buy. Like I said, we're bullish buys on this name. Look at this key level being defended here. That's no coincidence. So 661.80, it did its job. Buyer stepped up, right? Pushed this thing up aggressively. We're still bullish buys on this name. And let me go here on the intraday so you can see what I mean. Like, I promise you, I'm really trying to teach you guys, like, every trade, right? Like, you want to trade with the overall higher time frame. If you start, to each their own, you can't fix something that's not broken. If you take scalps and this and that, hey, do your thing. But these are easy 100% trades. If you just trade with the overall higher time frame, the trend is your friend. You avoid these no trade zones and channels and stuff like that. What I'm mainly trying to teach you is how to take high probability trades. Trading is all probabilities, not certainties. If trading was certainties, we'll all be rich. So our job is to enter high probability setups. How do you do that? Trading with the overall time frame, ignoring channels, staying away from no trade zones, stuff like that. So you see here, what do I always preach when we fail? A key level, we reclaim it, and what does that do? Say it with me, fuels that move to the upside. So you can see here, give me one sec. Right, you can see here, we ended up falling right under, made a new low on the week. People shorting this thinking, okay, we're gonna move lower. And what did that do? That fueled this move higher. Not only that, we reclaimed, you see this, whenever I see just a bearish intraday, my mind is not thinking time to short. My mind is not thinking, uh-oh, we're finally bearish on this name. I know these are just pullbacks. If you zoom out on the daily and on the weekly, you clearly see, well, we're definitely not bearish. So when I see stuff like this on the intraday, I'm just thinking, all right, just pull back long entries, just be patient. So not only did we fell under this and reclaim it, feeling that move to the upside, I mean, dude, we trended to the upside. That is, I mean, this is clean. This is clean, right? Like that, we trended the entire morning, just straight upside. So this happened around 9 a.m. If you were able to just sit around and be patient and take a trade off your key level, you got paid very, very well. So what I'm happy about is we pushed up. And two, look at this 673. So this is what I mean when I say, hey, don't ignore this level. I don't really trade the SPY and the Qs unless there's nothing else setting up and I'm looking for a nice little 0 DTE trade. But I am still looking for the 673. I know some people made money on that on this day, Thursday, the pullback long off of that. Look at that 15-minute candle. I know some people played that and got paid very well. So that being said, this is still the dip buy. You cannot forget that. This is still the dip buy. So I'm looking for that. I'm 100% looking for a trade off the 673. What I love about it is we're also above the previous day high. It's a daily, a key daily level. We want to see this thing, right? Turn resistance. We want to see this thing break, turn back into support, and there's nothing in this way to the upside. That is exactly what I want to see. So 673 to the upside on SPY is what I'm looking for. Tesla, I'm sorry. Qs. Look at Qs, man. This is what you want to see. This is what I mean when I say, hey, trend your friend. This market is still very bullish. We are not looking to short any of these names. I'm sorry, at least regarding the SPY and the Qs. That's the only way I'm looking to short. That is a breaker structure under this weekly. We are far away from that. Now, what do I love about this candle? Now, keep in mind, prior to this candle closing, the way that it did, it looked just like this. At one point, this was a very big, thick, bearish candle. At one point, look how aggressively buyers stepped up and pushed this thing all the way out. Just look left. This is our key level. So definitely would have wanted a little bit deeper of a pullback here to take a shot off this 595.85. But this thing is still in play. Now, like I said, this was a great week. It filled gaps. I mean, we had this gap. We had this gap. This was a solid week. It filled this gap. Pull back long. You know what I'm looking for. This is the dip buy. This 612.80. This thing is still setting up on SPY and the Qs. We're looking for that. What's in its way if it gets above here? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Look at that RR trade. And also what I love between, 626 and 612 is I already broke this down, just straight up and straight down. There's a lot of thin volume in there, right? Look at the price action in here versus up here. So coming into Monday, key level, looking to take a long off of because we are bullish buys on this name is 612.80. That is a valid shot. That is still setting up. That's the dip. You can clearly see, right? Let's draw this out, market structure, right? The dip is your friend. That is the A plus opportunity, and I'm looking for that on Monday. Tesla, really nothing here. Nothing here. Very unfortunate. It looked good at the start of the week, and then we pretty much started to sell off. Still in the channel. So you know what I'm going to do? Absolutely nothing. If we do give up 410, I'm bearish buys on this name. I'll explain why. Clearly, that's going to be a breaker structure. All right, if we fall into 410, we are now under this, right? Let me zoom out here. Swing high, swing high, swing high. We break under that. That is a breaker structure. That is a form of a lower low. So that being said, not really looking to take a trade until we get to 410 or 466.50. Patience pays. This week alone, we made, I don't know, a little bit over 3,000 just waiting and taking trades on Tesla at the top of this range, high probability setups. We did our job avoiding all that chaos. So now we're back to avoiding all that chaos. As long as we're sitting in between 466 and 410, for me personally, I'm just hands off. There's nothing in here. Look at the price action. There's just nothing in here. So we're bearish buys on this name. If we give up 410, other than that, still waiting for this 466.50 targeting all-time highs in the video. So game plan on Friday. If you caught this, kudos to you because I said if we give up, right? I said if we give up 195.60, we are bearish buys on this name. We gave up 195. So if you caught this beautiful break and retest, because you knew you were bearish bias coming into the day, and we were under a weekly, if you caught that, you got paid. That is beautiful, right? In 1 sec, break, turn it to resistance, and this thing just trended lower. That's exactly what you want to see. You got paid very well. You were risking right above our 184.50. That was also a weekly level. That's a big level. That's textbook. Now, for me personally, I said I'm not looking to take a trade off this name unless it's off of 195.60. And the reason for that being, let's just go on the daily. Like, I'm not messing around with the video. It's just, we remember all this price action in here. I'm not messing around with it. Give me 1 sec. We remember this. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want anything to do with that. So for me, my 2 key levels that I was really looking to take a trade off of, if I am shorting, is off of 195, and when we break under this 174, you can clearly see that is the better environment to take a trade in. Why? Because we're just not in all of this noise. I don't want to be in that. That is terrible. We avoided that. Why are we going to go back into taking trades in this crappy environment? I don't want to be in that. That's just sideways action. All we got to do is look left. Look how clean it is over here, right? So I'd rather wait, let my trade come to me, have some clean price action. You can clearly see that would be a little bit low. So coming into Monday, our key level here is still this 195.60. And you see the recovery we had. I'll go back on the intraday so you can see. We're either waiting for this or this, right? We see the market is still bullish. We see Qs and SPY still rallying. So maybe, right, we won't know until price develops. Maybe all of this was just a pullback with the overall market. Remember, this entire week, the overall market was pulling back, and that's healthy. It was pulling back, filling gaps, thin volume. So hey, maybe Qs was just pulling back NVIDIA this entire week. So if we reclaim this 195.60, we're bullish bias on the same. We're just looking for that. That's all we're looking for. But once I said, right, as long as we are under this 195.60, we're bearish bias. So we broke this level, right? We broke that level on the daily. You can clearly see, but we never got a retest. Never got a retest. So I'm looking for either a pop and fade off of 195.60 or a break and retest over 195.60. That is the only key level I'm looking to take a trade off of on Monday is 195.60. Anything in here, I don't want to deal with. That's just me personally. These are key levels you can look to take a trade off of. We are bearish biased as long as we're under 195.60. But if we do stay heavy under here, I'm just going to wait for this. I'm going to wait for us to clear out all this traffic. I don't want anything to do with that. And I'm just going to wait for the break really under this 174.50. So for me on Monday, 195 is my key level to watch, either pop and fade or break and retest off of that. If we reclaim this, we are bullish bias. See that? That's clean structure. We are bullish bias if we reclaim that. So until then, I'm bearish bias on this name, looking for a pop and fade off of 195.60. That's the key level to watch. Apple, really nothing to change here. Nothing to change here. I took my shot on Friday, which was a break and retest over 271.40. Nothing spectacular, just a base hit. You can see here, I'm still sitting in this channel. Still sitting in this channel, but it's setting up. Whenever I see consolidations, I just tell myself this thing is setting up. So what are we doing? We're just waiting for our next leg higher. Like I said, this is healthy market structure, right? Continuation, consolidation, next leg higher, continuation, consolidation, next leg higher. So that being said, I mean, we just made all-time highs. We just made all-time highs. So seeing this consolidation period is normal, waiting for our next leg higher. Like I've been saying, out of all tech names on the daily, it's funny enough, Apple really looks the cleanest. It really does look the cleanest. History likes to repeat itself. Consolidation, boom. We see that. Consolidation, boom. We see that. Consolidation, we're just waiting for that next boom. That's all we're waiting for. So for me, on Monday, waiting for the break and retest of this 271.40. Targeting this all-time high. Like I said, straight up, you go straight down. There's a lot of thin volume in there. I love it. If we get a blow off top, we can't be surprised. There's a lot of built-up liquidity in here. So, if we get that breakout and we don't catch that retest, can't really be surprised. Something I always said, remember, we broke this 264.5, but we never got a retest. We never got a retest. So if this thing wants to stay heavy and pull back to here, I would prefer the buy here. Remember, we want to be in a long position down here before we get back up here. So 2 key levels we're looking to go long off of is 271.40, break and retest over that, targeting all-time highs, or a pullback long off of this 264.05, targeting the top of this range and all-time highs. As we know, we were bullish bias on this thing. And then AMD. So AMD was this was a big day yesterday on Friday. Unfortunately, I did not catch this. Go watch that live trading session. I explained why I don't take this trade. But if you took this, at market open, you got paid. You got paid. I mean, this thing came back, hammer candle. We knew the game plan was a pullback long off of 227.30. This is a key level. This is a breaker structure level. We were bearish bias if we fall into this, or this is just a very long pullback dip. If you were able to catch this, or some way, somehow, and manage this, and get into a swing trade, you're set, bro. You caught the great trade. This was the biggest A+ trade, I would say, of the week. God honest truth is this pullback long on AMD. You can already see during the after hours, this thing's rallying with the overall market. If you got in here, like I said, right, I always say this, you want to be and trade down here before we get back up here. So if you're able to catch that and play next week cons, or come back during power hour, however you wanted to manage it, you got paid. This thing pushed and made the new high day. We took out our first high day. We reclaimed our key level here on the daily. We knew this pullback long was the A+ trade, so we were bullish bias on this name. Super solid. Let's break this down a little bit more thoroughly going into Monday. So I said, I don't really want to take a long in here, and the reason for that being is all we got to do is look left. We can see all that. Right, that's very tight. That's very tight. It's solid. It's almost a $10 gap, so it's a good RR trade. But last week I broke down 2 days in a row, just straight up and straight down. So what am I noticing in between 252 and 242? A lot of thin volume in there. A lot of thin volume in there. So I'd rather wait and take this target, top of this range, targeting all-time highs. Still a super solid RR trade. We're still getting in on the dip before we get back up here to all-time highs. That's a solid trade. If you're able to catch this, I mean, kudos to you. That was a very solid trade. Just look left. There's no coincidence here. Right, look at these wicks. Buyers stepped up very aggressively defending this 22730, and we knew if we fell under this was a big level. If we fall under this, right, swing high, that's a break of structure. This is exactly what we wanted to see. So I want to avoid this, and then I will wait for that. That is a very solid trade on Monday. So coming into Monday, our two key levels here, at least for me to take a long off of, is 242.80, straight up equals straight down. I love this 10 volume. Or if this wants to set up again, pull back long off of 227.30. Now I'll go here on the intraday, really on the 15-minute. This is a valid shot. Like I said, I'm avoiding in between 242.80 and 234.20 because I don't trade channels. It's not a bad channel, but it's still a channel. And we avoid channels because we don't know, you can't expect clean price action in a channel. You can't expect follow through, continuation, right? Like I always say, you got to know the pros and cons to your system. And the cons to the break and retest is channels and consolidation. So that being said, I'm avoiding this, but this is valid. You know, if you want to do something like that, you're still playing the dip. You know, the trend is your friend. It's clearly a key level. Super solid, but this intrigues me. Look at that, just straight down. So if we get over this, there's nothing in this way to the upside. I'd rather be patient for that. I did not take this trade. No regrets though. Like I said, go watch that live trading session. I explained why I didn't take it. But hey, if you caught this, you know, you even at open, you got paid very well. Either it was a 0 DTE, definitely made 100%, or if you play next week cons, you got in on a beautiful swing trade. Beautiful swing trade. Like you're chilling. You're comfortable if you got that trade. So now that all those are done, side watches here, Palantir. One sec. Let's go here on the daily. Right, really nothing in here. We did our best to avoid this, and we're gonna continue to avoid this. It's funny, this 169, bro. This is such a key level. If you go back to like maybe a month ago, I've been saying as long as we're above 169, we are bullish bias on the same. It's no coincidence that we keep pulling into this 169, and buyers are stepping up very aggressively. If we break this, that is a break of structure. So you can see, you know, this thing is moving higher, right? Now we're just back in this. We don't want anything to do in there. But hey, if this thing was to fall under 169, next key level here is 163. That is a solid trade. There's nothing in its way. There's nothing in its way. That's a big RR trade, right? You can wait for a break under 163.20 and wait for that. But as long as we're above 169, we're bullish bias on this name. So that being said, it's really nothing here. I'm definitely gonna set an alert because this is still valid targeting up here. So really the two key levels, 188 for a long, obviously because we'll be outside of this channel, and we are bearish bias if we fall under 169. There's no coincidence that this thing keeps like on the dot. Buyers are defending this thing on the dot. So you know, even though we are consolidated now, we are bearish bias on this thing. We haven't broken structure. Buyers stepped up very aggressively. You can see here. Let me clear this up. Buyers stepped up very aggressively here. On Friday, we pulled back, shot this thing back up. We're sitting back in this channel. We know we want to avoid that. But another thing, I've been saying, this 177, I mean, look at this. If you really do want to go long and trade Palantir, this 177 is a clear shot. I just don't trade channels, but this thing has been respected very well on the dot. So on Monday, if you want to look for that, remember, we're still bullish bias. That is a clear shot there. But for me, going to have an alert at 169 and 188. Hood came, defended this weekly level. That's no surprise. It defended this weekly level. We're kind of just sitting sideways now. Bearish bias on this name. I'll draw out why. We're bearish bias on this name. At least I am. Swing high, right? We did that. So remember, like I always say, we can't forget these things. That's why every day you go into the session, you want to zoom out on the daily. You want to zoom out on the daily, see what happened. The break and retest occurs on every time frame. We broke this. This is a key level. This 140.15. We broke that. We still never got that. Swing. This could be right another swing low forming. We're bearish bias now. We obviously know if we give up this 120.60, that I mean we're 100% bearish bias on this name. So coming into Monday, if you're looking to trade hood, you're really just looking for a pop and fade off of 140.15, excuse me, or a break under 120.45. These are really the two key levels I would be watching. We're bearish bias, so you can even look for that. You can even look for that on 133.05. But I like the 140.15 just because we broke that on the daily, but never retested that. You can see we got this break and retest pretty much 133 already. But here, 140, we didn't get that yet. So you're looking for that, or you're looking for that. Both clear trades, good RR trades. And like I said, I'm not looking along this name until we get under 146.70 and we are some ways away. So that's really the game plan on hood. Google, really just sitting. It's really doing nothing. This thing's just sitting. So I would just be hands off this name. We're sitting there all-time highs. Obviously, we're bullish bias, but this thing, it still needs a pullback. It still needs a pullback. We still got some gaps to fill. And this, right, this is what I mean when I say patient pays. Let's look at Google. This is the A+ long. That is the A+ long. Look at this. We broke this. We broke this, but we never retested this. This is a key level. You can clearly see resistance on the dot getting respected, but it's also the previous all-time high. We still need to break this, retest this level. So be patient on this name. I really wouldn't take anything up here. Like I said, you can. It's valid, but deeper the pullback, the better. I always teach that. If you really do want to trade this name, right, you can look for this or this. But I would really recommend just waiting for the pullback long to 256.70. That is really the A+ pullback long on this name. Amazon, no coincidence. No coincidence. This thing has a gap to fill. This thing has a gap to fill. But this previous all-time high, getting respected perfectly. Like I said, on Thursday, if you would have caught this pullback long, retested that, you got paid very nicely. This is the 15-minute time frame. This thing was trending on the 15, pulled all the way down. Bar stepped up, pushed this thing higher. That's exactly what you want to see. And there's a lot of thin volume in here. There's a lot of thin volume in here. So I wouldn't be surprised after we reclaim this, we fuel this move higher. So if you really do want to trade this name, now just really wait for either another pullback off this 242.52, or you can take the break and retest over 250.50 targeting all-time highs. Like I said, you want to be in a trade down here before you get back up here. So let's have a week. Hope this helps. Let me go back here. Give me one sec. These two, SPY and Qs. Don't sleep on these. These are on my close watch list going into Monday. These things look really good. We don't have red folder news on Monday, so we'll see how this weekend goes. We'll see if any news occurs during the weekend. But these two, I can't stress that enough. These are the dip buy on the daily. Break and retest over 673 and break and retest over 612.80.